My parents told me we can't afford the beach house this year. 2 weeks later, I saw photos of them and my siblings in a private villa. Then they called me for help with their rental problem. But I had a surprise waiting for them. We just can't afford the beach house this year, Sarah. Times are tough. My mother's voice crackled through the phone, laden with what I now knew was fake concern. Your father's business isn't doing as well as we hoped. I sat in my Manhattan apartment, staring at the calendar where I'd already blocked off the last 2 weeks of July, our family's traditional beach house vacation time for the past 25 years. The same vacation I'd already taken time off work for. The same one I've been looking forward to all year. My name is Sarah, and at 32, I was about to discover just how deeply family betrayal could cut. Are you sure? I asked, trying to keep the disappointment from my voice. I could help with the costs. I know how much this tradition means to everyone, especially to me. I thought, remembering all the summer spent at our Hamptons beach house, the memories stretching back to when I was just a little girl building sandcastles with my siblings. Oh, honey, no, Mom replied quickly. We couldn't possibly take your money. It's better if we all just skip it this year. Your brother Michael and Emma have already agreed it's for the best. I should have caught the slight hesitation in her voice when she mentioned my siblings. Should have noticed how she rushed through their names, but I was too busy trying to process the loss of our annual family gathering. Right, I said finally. Well, maybe we can plan something smaller later in the year. Of course, darling. Listen, I have to run. Your father needs me to help him with some paperwork. We'll talk soon. The call ended abruptly, leaving me with a nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right. I brushed it off, attributing it to my general disappointment. After all, what other explanation could there be? 2 weeks later, I found out exactly what other explanation there could be. I was mindlessly scrolling through Instagram during my lunch break when I saw it. A photo posted by my younger sister, Emma. My sandwich fell from my suddenly numb fingers as I stared at the image, my entire family lounging on our beach house deck, drinks in hand, a golden sunset behind them. Perfect start to our annual family vacation. Family time. The sunset. The timestamp showed it had been posted just hours ago. They hadn't canceled the trip. They had just canceled me. My hands shook as I scrolled through more photos. There was Michael manning the grill, Dad opening a bottle of champagne, Mom arranging her signature seashell centerpiece on the outdoor dining table. Another post from Michael. Nothing better than tradition. Annual family beach vacation in full swing. The word family felt like a slap across my face. I sat there, my untouched lunch growing warm as years of subtle exclusions and dismissals suddenly clicked into place. The forgotten invitations to weekend brunches, the family dinners I heard about after the fact, the group photos where everyone seemed to know about the color coordination except me. But this was different. This was our beach house tradition, the one thing I thought was sacred. The beach house had been in our family since before I was born. My grandfather bought it as a surprise for my grandmother in 1965, and it had been our summer gathering place ever since. I learned to swim in that ocean, had my first kiss under that boardwalk, and celebrated every major milestone with family dinners on that deck. I pulled up my mother's number, then stopped. What would confronting them accomplish? They had already shown me exactly where I stood on their priority list. Instead, I opened my laptop and started searching through old emails. There had to be a reason they felt so confident in excluding me, and I was going to find it. 3 hours later, I had my answer, and it made my blood run cold. Last year, when the family trust was being restructured after Grandpa's death, I'd signed a stack of papers Dad had brought to my office. Just routine stuff, he'd said, making sure everything's properly organized for tax purposes. I trusted him. Why wouldn't I? He was my father, a successful real estate developer who'd always handled the family's financial matters. So I'd signed where he pointed, not bothering to read the fine print. Now, looking at the copy I finally dug out of my files, I realized what I'd actually signed. A document transferring my share of the beach house ownership to a family LLC controlled by my parents. My hands clenched around the paper. They had planned this, probably for months. Get me to sign away my rights, then slowly edge me out of family gatherings until I was nothing more than a distant relative they had to tolerate at major holidays. But they had made one crucial mistake before my grandfather passed away. He pulled me aside during his last Christmas with us. Sarah, he said, his voice weak, but his eyes sharp as ever. I've left something for you with Harold. Promise me you'll go see him if anything feels wrong with the family. Harold Mason was my grandfather's lawyer and, more importantly, his closest friend. I dismissed the conversation at the time, assuming it was just the ramblings of a dying man. Now I wondered what exactly my grandfather had seen coming. I called Harold's office immediately. Sarah Mitchell for Harold Mason, I said when his secretary answered. Tell him it's about my grandfather's final instructions. Minutes later, Harold's familiar gravelly voice came through the line. Sarah, I've been wondering when you call. Your grandfather was a smart man. He knew exactly how things would play out once he was gone. Can you come to my office tomorrow at 9 a.m.? I glanced at my calendar, already reaching for my laptop to clear my schedule. I'll be there. That night, I barely slept. My phone kept buzzing with more family photos from the beach house. Sunset walks, seafood dinners, game nights. Each notification felt like another twist of the knife. I turned my phone face down, but I couldn't turn off my thoughts quite so easily. The next morning, I arrived at Harold's office precisely at 9 a.m. The office looked exactly as I remembered from childhood visits with my grandfather. Dark wood paneling, leather-bound law books lining the walls, and that same familiar scent of coffee and old paper. Harold stood as I entered, his tall frame slightly stooped now with age, but his blue eyes as sharp as ever. Sarah, he said warmly, you look just like your grandmother. He gestured for me to sit, then walked to his safe. Your grandfather left this for you, he said, returning with a thick envelope along with very specific instructions about when to give it to you. I took the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a letter written in my grandfather's distinctive scrawl, along with several legal documents. My dear Sarah, the letter began, if you're reading this, then what I've feared has come to pass. Your father has always been ambitious, and your mother too easily swayed by his dreams of legacy and status. I watched them slowly put aside anyone who doesn't fit their perfect family image, just as they did with your Aunt Claire years ago. I remembered Aunt Claire vaguely, Mom's sister who had chosen to distance herself from the family when I was young. I'd always accepted the family's version of events, that Claire had abandoned us. Now I wondered if there was another side to that story. But I've made provisions, the letter continued. The beach house isn't just a property. It's the heart of our family's memories. While your father may think he's cleverly consolidated control, he's overlooked something important. Check the original deed from 1965. Harold handed me another document, the original property deed. As I read through it, my eyes widened. The beach house property, Harold explained, includes not just the house, but also the private road leading to it and the small boat dock. Your grandfather never merged these parcels when he bought them. And while your father may have maneuvered to get control of the house itself, the road and dock are still under the original trust. I finished understanding dawning. A trust that, according to these papers, now belongs to me. Harold smiled. Exactly. Without access to the private road, the beach house is essentially landlocked. The public access road is 2 miles down the coast, and the neighboring properties have repeatedly blocked any attempts to create a new access point. I sat back, my mind racing. So they need my permission just to reach the house. Indeed, Harold said, your grandfather believed that sometimes people need to be reminded of the importance of family. All family members, not just the convenient ones. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with another Instagram notification. Emma had posted another perfect day in paradise. Family forever. I looked at Harold, a plan already forming in my mind. I think it's time for my family to learn a lesson about the true meaning of family now. I spent the rest of the morning with Harold, reviewing my options and forming a strategy. By the time I left his office, I had everything I needed to remind my family that actions have consequences. That evening, as I sat in my apartment looking through old beach house photos, my phone rang. It was my mother. Sarah, honey, she said, her voice tense. We seem to have a situation here at the beach house. I smiled, knowing exactly what was coming. Oh, what kind of situation? Well, the strangest thing. There's apparently some issue with the access road, some sort of permit problem. We can't get our cars out of the driveway. I could hear voices in the background, Dad arguing with someone. Emma's distinctive whine, Michael's attempts to problem solve. That's terrible, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Almost as terrible as discovering my family went on vacation without me after lying about canceling it. Silence on the other end. Then you know about that. Instagram is a very public platform, Mom. But don't worry. I'm sure you'll figure something out. After all, you've got the whole family there to help. Well, almost the whole family. Sarah, wait. I hung up and turned off my phone. They had 2 weeks of vacation planned at the beach house. 2 weeks to contemplate their choices while dealing with their increasingly limited access options. Sometimes I thought, looking at my grandfather's letter again, the best lessons come from unexpected teachers. And this lesson was just beginning. The call started at 6 a.m. the next morning. First, Dad. Sarah, this is ridiculous. You need to fix whatever you've done with the access road. We have dinner reservations at La Mer tonight. Then Mom, honey, I know you're upset, but this isn't the way to handle things. We were just trying to have a quiet family vacation. Michael, sis, come on. You're being petty. So we have one vacation without you. It's not the end of the world, Emma. You're ruining everything. My Instagram followers were expecting daily beach content. I let them all go to voicemail, each message more desperate than the last. Instead of responding, I spent the morning with Harold, reviewing the next phase of our plan. Your father's trying to find a workaround, Harold said, hanging up his phone. He's already contacted 3 different lawyers looking for loopholes. I nodded, unsurprised, and they've all told him the same thing. The road access is ironclad. Your grandfather made sure of that. Harold smiled, shuffling through some papers. But that's not even the best part. He handed me a document that made my eyebrows rise. The doc. Your family's fancy boats aren't going anywhere without your permission. And according to the harbor master, they've got quite the lineup of water activities planned for the next 2 weeks. I thought about all the summers I'd spent on those boats. Learning to sail with my grandfather, watching sunsets with my siblings. More memories they tried to steal. Have they figured it out yet? I asked. That I'm behind this? Your father suspects. He called me this morning, trying to throw his weight around. I reminded him that I represent your interests now, not his. My phone buzzed again. Another family group chat message I wasn't supposed to be part of, but could still see, thanks to Michael's technical ineptitude. Mom, the harbor master says we can't take the boats out. Something about dock access. Dad, this is Sarah's doing. Has to be Emma. How could she do this to us? My influencer cruise is scheduled for tomorrow, Michael. Dad, can't you just buy access rights or something? Dad, working on it. Don't worry. I'll handle this. I showed Harold the messages. He always says that I'll handle this. It's his way of maintaining control. Well, Harold said, eyes twinkling, he's welcome to try, but your grandfather built this plan to be airtight. The only way they're getting access is through you. By day 3, the situation at the beach house had reached a breaking point. Without road access, they couldn't get their cars out to go shopping, visit restaurants, or attend any of their planned activities. The dock restrictions meant their boats sat uselessly in their slips. Even their grocery deliveries were being held at the main road, forcing them to walk 2 miles in the summer heat to retrieve them. Emma's Instagram stories had shifted from perfect family vacation to increasingly frantic updates about being stranded in paradise. Michael's wife was threatening to call her parents to come rescue them. Mom had resorted to hourly texts, alternating between guilt trips and attempts at reconciliation. But it was Dad's email that finally made me decide to make my move. This childish behavior ends now, the email read. Sarah, you're trying to prove a point. Message received, but you're only hurting yourself. If you continue this ridiculous power play, you'll force me to take more permanent measures regarding your position in this family. You have until tomorrow to restore access. Dad, I forwarded the email to Harold, then picked up my phone. Mom, we need to talk, all of us in person. Oh, thank goodness, she breathed. Yes, of course. When I be there in 2 hours. Make sure everyone's present. The drive to the beach house felt surreal. How many times had I made this trip, excited for family time ahead? Now, I was driving in a battle, armed with truth instead of beach toys. When I pulled up to the access gate, I saw them all gathered on the deck, watching me. I used my key, the one thing they couldn't take away, to open the gate and drive through. The humidity hit me as soon as I stepped out of my car, thick and heavy like the tension in the air. Dad stood at the top of the deck stairs, trying to project authority despite his rumpled vacation clothes. Finally ready to be reasonable? He asked as I climbed the stairs. I didn't answer until I reached the deck, taking in the scattered evidence of their disrupted vacation. Empty wine bottles, half-played board games, phones plugged into every available outlet as they desperately sought entertainment without their usual activities. I thought we should all talk, I said, looking at each family member in turn. About truth, about family, about what those words really mean. If this is about not including you in the vacation Mom started, this is about so much more than that. I cut her off. This is about years of systematic exclusion, about lying to me, manipulating me, trying to strip away my inheritance piece by piece. I pulled out the document I'd signed last year. Like this, Dad. Want to explain what this really was? He shifted uncomfortably. It was necessary. Restructuring. It was theft, I said flatly. You tricked me into signing away my rights to the house, just like you've been trying to trick me out of every other part of this family. That's not fair, Emma protested. You're always so busy with work, never making time for family things. Really? I pulled out my phone, scrolling through my calendar like the 3 family dinners last month I was never told about, or Michael's birthday lunch, or the weekend planning meeting for this vacation. Silence fell over the deck. But you know what? I continued. You all made one crucial mistake. You forgot about Grandpa's foresight, about the trust he left me, about the fact that this house is worthless without the access he made sure I controlled. I saw the moment it hit them, really hit them, that they weren't in control anymore. Dad's face flushed red. Mom's hands twisted in her lap. Emma's eyes filled with tears. And Michael just looked tired. So here's what's going to happen, I said, pulling out the papers Harold had prepared. We're going to restructure things properly this time. Equal access, equal rights, equal say in all family properties. No more secret meetings. No more manipulated documents. No more exclusive vacations. And if we refuse? Dad challenged. I smiled, thinking of my grandfather. Then I hope you all enjoy walking 2 miles for your groceries. The road access restrictions can last indefinitely. The negotiations took hours. By the time we finished, the sun was setting over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, just like I remembered from countless family dinners on this very deck. But this sunset felt different. This sunset marked a new chapter, one where I wasn't just included in the family, but it helped reshape it into something stronger, more honest, more real. As I drove home that evening, my phone buzzed with a new Instagram notification. Emma had posted a photo of all of us together on the deck, looking somewhat worse for wear but genuinely smiling. The caption read, "Learning what family really means. Blessed new beginnings." This time, I didn't turn my phone face down. Instead, I liked the post and added a comment, "Here's to new traditions." I watched as my family processed my words, their faces shifting between shock, anger, and denial. The silence stretched between us, thick and heavy, broken only by the distant sound of waves crashing against the shore. My father's fists clenched at his sides, his jaw tight with barely restrained fury. My mother stared at the table, pretending to be fascinated by an invisible stain on the linen. Michael had his arms crossed, his expression unreadable, and Emma's eyes were glossy, her lips pressed into a pout, like a child on the verge of a tantrum. "So this is what you wanted?" My father finally spoke, his voice a dangerous growl. "You came here to humiliate us? To make us beg?" I didn't flinch. "No, I came here to make sure you never try to erase me from this family again. You all made it very clear that I wasn't wanted. You lied to me. You stole from me. You decided I wasn't part of the family when it suited you. But now that you need something from me, suddenly I'm madder again. I'm not playing this game anymore." "You're overreacting," Emma whined, throwing her hands up. "It was just one vacation. Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" I let out a humorless laugh. "One vacation? Then why lie? Why forge documents to take away my rights to this house? Why systematically exclude me from everything? This isn't just about a trip to the beach, Emma. This is about years of manipulation and betrayal." Michael sighed, rubbing his temples. "Okay, Sarah, we get it. You caught us. We screwed up. But what do you want? Do you want Mom and Dad to get on their knees and apologize? Do you want to keep us locked out of the house forever? What's the end game here?" I held his gaze. "I want you to understand what it feels like to be left out, to be treated like an afterthought, to be discarded until it's convenient to remember I exist. I want you to sit in this house, trapped by your own actions, and realize that actions have consequences." My mother, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke, her voice shaking. "Sarah, honey, we never meant to hurt you. It was a mistake." I scoffed. "A mistake? A mistake is forgetting to invite me to brunch. A mistake is mixing up a date. But tricking me into signing away my rights? Lying about canceling the trip while you all went ahead without me? That wasn't a mistake, Mom. That was a plan." My father slammed his fist down on the table, making everyone jump. "Enough. You don't get to walk in here and hold us hostage like this. You think you can blackmail us into doing what you want?" I didn't even blink. Instead, I reached into my bag and pulled out the documents Harold had prepared, laying them on the table. "Then sign this." He grabbed the papers and skimmed through them, his face darkening as he realized what they were. "You want to restructure the ownership? Give equal access to everyone? I want to undo what you did. You manipulated me, stole from me, and thought I'd never find out. Now we're fixing this the right way. No more backroom deals. No more exclusion. No more lying." He tossed the papers onto the table with a sneer. "And what if we refuse?" I shrugged. "Then I hope you enjoy your long walks to get groceries. The road restrictions aren't going anywhere." My mother looked at me with pleading eyes. "Sarah, this isn't fair." I laughed. A amused laugh. Fair? You erased me from this family. You stole my inheritance. You lied to my face. And now that you're feeling just a fraction of what I felt, you want to talk about fairness? Emma let out a dramatic sigh. You're ruining everything. Do you know how many brand deals I had lined up? My influencer cruise is tomorrow. I was supposed to post daily content, and now I'm stuck here with nothing. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, I'm sorry. Your biggest concern is that you can't post beach pictures? That must be so hard for you. My father was shaking with anger. You think you can force us to sign? We'll find another way. I unlocked my phone and pulled up an email. Go ahead. Try. Because I already have my way. I turned the screen toward him. Harold and I have put together a full legal case. If you don't sign, we take this to court. And imagine what that will do to your reputation, Dad. A real estate mogul who defrauded his own daughter? Think your investors will like that? His face went pale. Silence settled over the deck. My mother stared at the papers, her hands shaking. Michael refused to look at me. Emma glared at me like I had personally ruined her life. They knew they had lost. You have until tomorrow morning to sign, I said, my voice even, or I'll see you in court. Without waiting for an answer, I grabbed my bag and walked toward my car. But before I could get in, I heard my mother's voice behind me. Sarah. I stopped but didn't turn around. What? I'm sorry. I closed my eyes for a moment. I had waited years to hear those words, but now they meant nothing. I got in my car and drove away. When I got home, my phone buzzed. A message from Harold. Your father just called me. They want to meet tomorrow to sign the papers. I smirked as I set my phone down. They had tried to erase me, betrayed me, but now I had the power. And this time, things would be done my way. I walked out of that house without looking back. My car glided down the coastal road, the ocean stretching out beside me, but my mind was racing. Revenge tasted sweet, but it was incomplete. Getting them to sign those papers was just the beginning. My family needed to learn, once and for all, that I was not someone they could manipulate, discard, and expect to come crawling back when it suited them. The next morning, as promised, I returned to the beach house. I arrived early, before anyone had the chance to change their minds or try to find a loophole. Harold was with me, the documents ready. When I stepped onto the deck, the atmosphere was different. The arrogance was gone. The confidence that they controlled everything had evaporated. My mother sat on the couch, staring at her hands, her face drawn with regret. Real or fake, I couldn't tell. My father stood stiffly, his arms crossed like a man, trying to cling to the last shreds of his dignity. Emma slouched in a chair, scrolling through her phone, her lips pressed into a deep pout, like a spoiled child denied a toy. Michael looked exhausted, defeated, as if he had accepted the inevitable. Good morning, Harold greeted, breaking the silence. Let's get this settled quickly. No one responded. My father grabbed the pen first, signing with stiff, aggressive strokes. Then my mother, who sighed heavily before scribbling her name. Michael signed next, wordlessly. Emma was the last. This is ridiculous, she muttered, snatching the pen and scribbling her name as if it personally offended her. What was ridiculous was what you all did to me, I said coldly. Harold collected the documents, reviewed everything, and handed me my copy. It's done, he said, satisfied. The weight of the paper in my hands was more than just legal ownership. It was the weight of years of exclusion, of lies, of betrayal. And now, everything was balanced again. But I wasn't finished. Now that everything is official, I began sliding the papers into my bag. I need to make something very clear. My father exhaled sharply. What else do you want, Sarah? You already won. I arched an eyebrow. Won? No. This was just leveling the playing field. But you all need to understand something. I will never allow you to treat me that way again. Silence. I know exactly who you all are, I continued. You only see me as a tool, something to be used when convenient. I spent years thinking that if I worked harder, if I was always present, if I did everything right, maybe one day you'd see me as part of this family. But now I understand that it was never in my control. My mother wrung her hands in her lap, visibly uncomfortable. Sarah, no, I cut her off. Now you listen. For the first time, you're not in control. I am. And here's what's going to happen. I don't need any of you anymore. Emma scoffed. If you don't need us, why go through all of this? I stepped closer to her, meeting her gaze. Because you all needed to learn that you can't erase me and then expect me to be here when it's convenient. She swallowed hard. The access to the house is restored to all of us, but I made sure that none of you can ever alter it again without my approval. Any attempt to screw me over again will be met with legal action. No second chances. My father let out a bitter laugh. You're acting like we're criminals. I smiled. You falsified documents to remove me from my own property. I could have pressed charges, but I decided to do something worse. His brow furrowed. What did you do? I took out my phone and calmly scrolled to an email. Let's just say, some people were very interested in learning about how you conduct your business. Funny how investors tend to lose confidence when they find out a businessman forged documents to cheat his own daughter. The silence that followed was deafening. My father's face went pale. He swallowed. What did you do? I sent the documents to some of your key contacts, I said casually. Harold ensured everything was explained in detail. You can try to spin it, of course. But tell me, who's going to trust you now? My mother gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. Sarah, you've destroyed your father. No, Mom. He destroyed himself. I just made sure he felt what it's like to be deceived. Emma shot up from her seat, her eyes wide. And me? What did you do to me? I smirked. Oh, Emma, you didn't know contracts are legally binding, right? Your influencer cruise. I revoked your authorization to use any part of the family estate for business purposes. Your partnerships? Hanging by a thread, because no brand wants to work with someone who can't deliver what they promised. The horror on her face was priceless. You're joking. Nope. But don't worry. I'm sure your followers will love to hear about how you helped deceive your own sister. Michael exhaled, rubbing his temples. So that's it? You want to ruin us? No, Michael. I stared at him. I just want you to feel, even for a second, what I felt. You'll all survive. You'll all move on. But from this day forward, I am not your backup plan. I'm not someone you get to erase and expect to return with open arms. They all sat in silence. You have the house back. But this family? It's done. I grabbed my bag and walked toward the door. Sarah, my mother called one last time. Can't we fix this? I turned and looked at her. No. And I left. That night, when I got home, my phone was flooded with notifications. A formal statement announced that my father was under investigation for financial fraud. Emma had posted a tearful story on Instagram, ranting about how people are cruel in trying to ruin her life. And Michael, well, Michael had gone completely silent. And me? I sat on my apartment balcony, a glass of wine in my hand, watching the city lights. For the first time in years, I felt nothing but peace. They had erased me from the family, but I refused to disappear. And now, they knew exactly what happens when they try to play games with me.